Let's face it, business technology is frustrating and complex. So how do you make sure it works for your team? To make IT right, start the discussion at go-domain.com. You're listening to Discussions by Domain, a podcast for business leaders. Our discussions may be with people you've probably heard of before, but the majority of our guests are in the trenches, professionals like you and I, with the same challenges and struggles of keeping up in the Northeast. They're implementing strategies, overcoming hurdles. They're leading the fastest growing businesses in our region. My name is Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships at Domain Computer Services, and the host of this show. When I'm not talking with business leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of Domain and the ups and downs of our own growth journey, as we intend to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Today I have the honor of interviewing Mr. Joseph Benincasa. Mr. Benincasa is the president and CEO of the Actors Fund, the national human services organization that helps everyone in entertainment and the performing arts. He joined the fund in 1989. Mr. Benincasa directs comprehensive social services, healthcare services, employment and training, and affordable, supportive, and senior housing. The Actors Fund's headquarters are in New York City, with regional offices in Los Angeles and Chicago, a nursing home in Englewood, New Jersey, and supportive housing residences in Brooklyn and Manhattan, New York, as well as West Hollywood, California. He is also president of the Actors Fund Housing Development Corporation, which is building affordable, supportive, and senior care residences for artists in major urban centers. He serves on the boards of director of several organizations, including Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, National Executive Service Corps, the New Jersey Theater Alliance, Theater Communications Group, Times Square Alliance, and the Somerset Patriots, a minor league baseball team. He is also a member of the Columbus Foundation, Lambs, Players and Friars Club, and has been recognized with several honors, including the Actors Fund Medal of Honor, Tony Honors Award, New Jersey Legislative Excellence in Arts, and the inaugural Made in New York Awards. He has chaired the New York Society of Association Executives, served as secretary treasurer of the Musi Cares Foundation, and as a member of the Tony administration and nominating committees, and on the boards of directors of St. Peter's University Medical Center, the Human Services Council, Learning Ally, BioReference Laboratories, and YMCA of New York City. In 2011, he was awarded an honorary doctorate of humane letters by Centenary College and served on the New York State Attorney General's Leadership Committee for Nonprofit Revitalization. In 2018, he delivered the commencement speech at the Mason Gross School of Arts at Rutgers University and received its Distinguished Service to the Arts Award. He currently teaches at the Fordham Center for Nonprofit Leaders. Mr. Benincasa graduated from St. Joseph University and earned a master's from Rutgers University. He served in the Washington, D.C. office of Congressman John Culver in 1973, directed the Title VII bilingual education program in 1974, and directed communications for the United Ways of Tri-State and Miami from 1975 to 1980, and for the New York Blood Center from 1980 to 1988. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Mr. Joe Benincasa. So welcome to another episode of Discussions by Domain. I am your host, Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships over at Domain Computer Services. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Joe Benincasa, the Executive Director of the Actors Fund. And Joe, before we get into it, I wanted to ask you, are you a coffee or tea individual?
This morning, I'm a tea individual. And that's because my wife got up before I did to make tea. She's a tea drinker and I'm a coffee drinker.
Outstanding. So Joe has a very interesting story, and he's been with the Actors Fund since 1989. And it just recently came across my desk, and I saw the story, and it was a story that I didn't know about. So I felt like many of our guests probably didn't know about it, about the story of the Actors Fund and this unique niche of professionals in our world that provide us so much that we didn't know about. So I wanted Joe to come on and walk us through this. So we're going to start with the basics of the Actors Fund, and then we're going to go into really the heart and of what they do in terms of the services they provide, as well as how has that changed or adapted during the COVID-19 pandemic. So Joe, I wanted to start with your mission, and I thought it was a really good mission. I'm just going to read it here for the guests and then ask you a question about it. So the Actors Fund is a nationwide human services organization that helps all professionals in performing arts and entertainment. The fund is a safety net providing programs and services for those who are in need, crisis, or transition. So the question, Joe, is what does that mean to you, and how has this mission evolved during the pandemic?
You know, most performing arts and entertainment professionals earn very modest incomes and can't afford basic living necessities. Dancers have median income of about $20,000 a year, and just 25% are able to secure full-time work. Actors have a median income of only about $25,000 a year, and just 15% of them have full-time work. Musicians and singers have a median income of only about $23,000 a year, and just 30% have full-time work. So it is a community, an industry, if you will, that earns very modest amounts of money, and they don't have the safety net that they need is generally provided by their unions, guilds, the producers of shows, but in large part by the Actors Fund. And how has that changed for during the COVID-19 pandemic? What we've done is we've been able to keep all of our programs moving forward. And when I say all of our programs, it focuses on direct financial assistance, helping people secure health insurance or keep health insurance, helping people find parallel or secondary work that's appropriate during the pandemic, and then keeping all of our other programs moving forward. Our nursing home, for instance, in Englewood, New Jersey, fortunately has a perfect rating by the state of New Jersey and 5 stars by the federal government. But that has taken a remarkable effort on part of our staff to keep everybody safe and sound and taken care of. Our residences, our affordable housing and supportive housing residences in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and West Hollywood, again, we've had similar success in being very good property managers and providing affordable rents to people who really need housing. Now, having said that, we've spent $15 million so far on direct financial assistance to about 12,500 entertainment professionals around the country. We are managing the relief funds for 13 unions and other associations engaged in film, television, and theater. So we've developed an expertise and a talent and incredibly a wonderful governance group. You know, our board of trustees, you know, led by Brian Stokes Mitchell and Annette Benning and BB Newworth, you know, and different groups all over the country have been incredibly helpful and very supportive. We've been able to raise an additional $34 million, all of for COVID-19, all of which will be spent maybe by October, you know, or December. Challenges health insurance right now. It's direct financial assistance and health insurance during the pandemic. Most members of Actors Equity Association, those are the stage managers and the actors on stage and managing theatrical productions, and many of the musicians who will be losing their health insurance. We're going to be working very hard as navigators under the Affordable Care Act and through our healthcare center in Times Square and our telemedicine programs, which reach around the country, to keep people healthy, to offset the cost of COBRA, to help them keep the insurance they have if in fact they've got pre-existing conditions which require, you know, sustaining the right team of doctors, you know, or we'll be helping people secure health insurance on the marketplace.
Yeah, very good overview. You can't be doing all of those things alone. What does your team look like at the Actors Fund?
We have a remarkable team. Our chief operating officer is Barbara Davis. We have a great chief financial officer in Connie Yu, our chief of advancement and marketing, Tom Exton, and our Keith McNutt, who is our executive director in Los Angeles and for the Western region, and our administrative team, our directors, Christopher Bloodworth, who oversees what we call the Career Center, helping people develop parallel and second careers. Jordan Stroll, the administrator of our home in Englewood, New Jersey, is just remarkable. I keep on saying the word remarkable, but it's up in every person. It seems that we were built for this moment. We've built a strong organization over the years. We've had other experiences, whether in responding to Sandy, what happened after 9/11 in the New York community and around the country, what's happened during work stoppages or slowdowns or economic downturns. I'm reminded in 2008, it didn't take a genius to figure out that people would have less money to contribute to the Actors Fund. And we organized what we called a special campaign to raise $12 million in 11 months. And we recruited wonderful talent, volunteer talent, to help us raise that money. And we succeeded. It was Jonathan Tisch, a remarkable, the hotelier and co-owner of the New York Giants. Annette Bening in California, kind of helping us raise money in LA. And Kevin McCullum, a remarkable Broadway producer with shows like Rent, in his portfolio. So we were able to generate goodwill because we walked the walk of a great human service organization. Excuse me. We're focused on, walking that walk. 86% of all the money we spend is spent helping people. We have a lean organization. Anthony, you probably noticed that I answer my own phone. We all answer our own phones. We all do our own correspondence. I think that's more the order of the day than not these days. But we're very proud of how we're rated. We pay attention to GuideStar and to Charity Navigator, which has consistently ranked us in the top 1% of human service organizations. And we're smart about how we help. A lot of our affordable housing development around the country has been, or especially in Los Angeles and New York, has utilized the affordable housing tax credit, to build housing. We did the largest tax credit deal back in '96 when we, with related companies, built what is now called the Friedman Residence on West 57th Street and 10th Avenue. And, we're not stopping. Some friends of the Actors Fund got together the casts of Hairspray, and they performed a Zoom fantastic production that has been seen by millions of people, is that you can't stop the beat. And you can't stop the beat of the people around the Actors Fund who are working hard, volunteers and staff, to help entertainment and performing arts professionals. We're getting ready to break ground on a $125 million affordable housing project in downtown Hollywood, a project with feasibility studies initiated by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Grammys. We're to the point now, after 5 years, we're ready to go, which is terrific. And we just finished a $10.4 million renovation of our property in West Hollywood, which is the most beautiful affordable housing residence in the world, I think.
And to give us, Joe, some context on those two properties and the other ones that you have, I think you mentioned the one on West 57th as well. How many affordable housing units are those properties providing to the community?
The short answer is not enough, but the factual answer is the residence on West 57th Street has 178 units. Awesome. And it's split between. We have a third for senior citizens who are fragile and need some help, people living with pre-existing conditions like HIV and AIDS, and working professionals, earning less than $38,000, which is most people working in the entertainment community. In downtown Brooklyn, we have 217 affordable units, studio apartments, but equipped with, washers and dryers and everything. They're really great. It's got a gymnasium, which we're getting ready to reopen under careful guidance. And we also created a home for the Brooklyn Ballet there, and also have constructed a theater, which is being used by the nonprofit community by 80 different nonprofit groups in downtown Brooklyn. And it's called the Mark O'Donnell Theater. Mark tragically passed away 8 years ago. He was the co-writer of Hairspray, and his twin brother, Stephen, wanted to memorialize his brother and has assigned the royalties of Hairspray, his cut of the royalties, to the Actors Fund, which supports our addiction recovery programs and has a beautifully named theater there. It's beautiful. And in Hollywood, at West 57th Street also, we have beautiful community rooms. We have one of the most popular Starbucks, which is a great retail partner. And in our new project in Los Angeles, we have a theater devoted to dance, which has been underwritten by a prominent philanthropist in the Los Angeles community. So we try to incorporate not only community services, because we do bring in other partners to help people who are in need, but we also try to focus on arts opportunities for people.
That's outstanding. So I want to switch gears a little bit. I saw some St. Joe's in your background, as well as Rutgers University. And I graduated Rutgers with a degree in economics. And one of the elective classes I took was theater appreciation there. And one of the teachers, or one of the lessons, was around the economic impact that the arts have on communities, especially New Brunswick, as I'm sure you're familiar with, New York City, et cetera. So the question is around that of, can you explain for our guests the economic impact that performing arts and entertainment community has on the local communities they serve?
What we often say during this pandemic, and we say all the time, is that arts and tourism and business are all interconnected. I was on a meeting a couple of weeks ago with a partner, a hotelier, in Manhattan, and he jokingly but seriously said, I have a lovely hotel in Times Square, but people don't come to my hotel to stay in the hotel. They come to the hotel to go see Hamilton, the Lion King, to visit the museums, to go to the great restaurants. So we work very closely with the tourist industry and all the arts and cultural organizations around. When you think about the billions of dollars generated in New York City's economy and the Los Angeles County, Chicago, where we operate, the taxes that are paid, by the theater presenters, the 330,000 jobs in New York City and LA County that, are combined together, are an incredible source of employment. And you think about the trillion, I think it's now like around $950 billion paid part of the United States GNP, which is remarkable. But the arts are an intrinsic part of all the tourism industry. And what we all know together is that we all have to get back to work safely. And that is I'm very proud of the entertainment community and what's being done to help, some of the experimentation that's going on up in the Berkshires with that 10-person production of Godspell, also at the Barrington Stage with the one-person show. You look at Tyler Perry down in Atlanta, who has created his own bubble for production. Hopefully he's successful. But what I'm impressed is that producers, studio heads, all the unions are all focused on the science of getting people back to work safely. Theater may be the last element to come back safely, and restaurants inside, because it's a contagious virus, and putting people together inside a facility. Brian Stokes Mitchell, the wonderful Broadway, legend at this point. He chairs our board. He always talks about the spit line. 8 rows out in a theater. He talks about the intimacy of being on stage and backstage with the musicians, the stagehands, and his other actors. And, all the protocols that are being developed and tested right now are very important. So I know, Anthony, you mentioned Rutgers and St. Joe's. I was undergraduate at St. Joe's, which was a great experience, and gave me an opportunity as an English major and a Latin American studies major to spent some time in Colombia and Mexico in undergraduate and graduate school, and Rutgers for a master's in education. I'd worked for a congressman down in Washington, D.C. in '74. And when I came back to go to graduate school, I was running a bilingual Title VII education program in New Brunswick, and got to know Eric Krebs. And together, Eric and I built the George Street Playhouse. Okay, I mean, Eric was the prime leader. I was kind of the thinker in terms of raising money. I remember in those days we had Comprehensive Employment and Training Act monies, which we used to retain a lot of people. And it did remind me in no small way to what my father lovingly talked about, was the Works Progress Administration in the 30s and the FDR programs that created job opportunities for people like my dad, who was first generation in this country, the youngest of 10, who was orphaned. And when he got out of the orphanage at 15 or 16, he went right to work in the Civilian Conservation Corps and in the Works Progress Administration. And he said those jobs provided great dignity to him and for him, and helped set him on a course to become, a successful, person.
It's amazing. We see a lot of talk, especially in our space, in the technology space, around startups and startup culture, and they're even talking about startup communities, and how that's changing little geos outside of Silicon Valley now. And I see that same thing with New Brunswick and the theater and the arts there. We have a client ourselves that's main business is building up that area and getting money to be able to build around what New Brunswick has done. And it's completely revamped it. I mean, I graduated from there back in 2011, and just from then till now, the massive change that's happened in that area. And it's all because of that. You have people from all around the local geography that are looking forward to going to New Brunswick, to the George Street Playhouse, like you mentioned, students that are involved in it. It's just a great little micro economy, you could say, micro community of the arts that people look forward to all over New Jersey to be able to get to.
Oh, I agree completely. And I'm very proud. If you were to see my Zoom avatar, it's one of our most recent collaborations, and it is the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center. And it's the Actors Fund was helpful in designating a number, about 50 apartments above the Performing Arts Center, designated for artists, and there's been active recruitment. Chris Palladino, I think the president and CEO of DevCo, has done a remarkable job in New Brunswick and down in Atlantic City. Yep. And we're very proud to be, I like to, I tease my friends down at George Street that, 3 years ago when they got around to honoring me to raise some money, it was just the beginning of years of work had gone into it, but it was just the beginning and the announcement, that the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center was about to be built. And it was that same year that I was able to speak to the graduating class at Mason Grove School and did a tour. It's very exciting. I love New Brunswick. I was raised in New Brunswick, just off the Rutgers campus. My dad was president of AFSCME, the AFSCME local, which represented the state municipal employees there. And so grew up in a union household, but I grew up on the Rutgers campus. And I was very proud. My friends and I were very proud when we could crash a fraternity party when we were in high school.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. So Chris Palladino and DevCo is the exact company that I was talking about that we work hand in hand with from a technology perspective, but helping them accomplish the missions that they're going after.
Well, they're doing a great job.
So let's jump into, you guys have such a broad spectrum of things that you offer at the Actors Fund, from services and programs, affordable housing. Are there any specific ones that you want to mention today to give some special attention to, maybe specifically around the pandemic and what's going on with that and the money that you've given out over the last 20 weeks, or anything that you really want to highlight that people should be aware of, even actors and entertainment folks, if they need help, what they should be reaching out for? Well,
we are in a marathon. Unlike 2008 or after Sandy, there was a period of time that we focused on. But right now, we're focused on through 2021. we're preparing our projections for how much money we'll need to provide help in 2021 and into 2022. We finished a $34 million campaign and expansion of our nursing home in Englewood. We've raised some money now to further pandemic-proof our residents in Englewood, but we're looking at all of our buildings right now. So we need to make sure that we are further protecting the people who are living in our residences. We are focused on making sure we have enough money to provide direct financial assistance. We're focused on making sure that we have the staff resources so that we can help people. Immediately when the pandemic started, and we relocated all of our staff in Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York to remote areas to work. We've since gone back to a modest staff in our offices, but very controlled. We need to make sure that we have the technology to make sure that our people are as productive as possible. The other part is that we have to make sure that they stay healthy, not only in terms of COVID-19, but also in terms of their mental health, because one of the things that I admire about our staff so much is that they would work. If you didn't stop them from working, they'd be working 24/7 and getting themselves sick. So we're working very hard on helping people stay healthy in their new work environments. Health insurance, I keep on talking about that, and I keep on talking about parallel and secondary work. We're focused in New York State and working with the Labor Commissioner and the New York City Partnership to identify opportunities for people in the arts who can develop different careers. We're looking at a dislocated worker program, in which there are funds hopefully will be made available so that we can train up people to work in not the arts, but other areas where they may be particularly helpful. For instance, in distance learning, we believe there's going to be opportunities for actors and other people who are familiar with performance, to become distance teachers, to work with the boards of education about delivering content to the kids who cannot be in the classroom. So these are not bets, but we're working together with government and philanthropy to figure out our role and the role of arts workers. We know that, I think that we're a great organization, and we are a great organization, but we know that government plays an enormous role. What Congress does in relation to extending unemployment benefits in a real way, what they do in terms of covering COBRA for dislocated workers or for people who lose their health insurance, what they do in terms of creating opportunities for people to work. We're good navigators of all that, but we're navigators of it. The help we provide is transitional help for the most part, and we do have a voice. And we are working, personally, we're not a 501c6. We are, in fact, two 501c3s, a real estate development corporation and a charity. And it's, I'm working with a number of C6s, the Stagehands PAC, the Americans for the Arts Political Action Committee, to help get these ideas up in front of our legislative teams. But government has an enormous role here.
Yeah, no, 100% on that. I know you wanted to spend some time on who are the great public servants that you wanted to give some recognition to that are helping you guys along on your mission.
I think the great public servants, I'll be following your podcast forever now, since I'm on it. But the one podcast that maybe the only one, not the only one, but I love listening to Chuck Rosenberg. He has a podcast called The Oath, and he focuses on public servants, government servants, people who take the oath and serve in the Justice Department or whatever else. And it's really been inspiring over 3 seasons to listen to Chuck do these, 1-hour interviews with people. I think the people who I admire, and we have so many wonderful volunteers and fiduciaries. Brian Stokes Mitchell, a Broadway star, film and television as well. He is our board chairman, and we have term limits at the Actors Fund. People serve 2 terms of 3 years, and then they graduate to something called the Chairman's Council. which is terrific. And they stay engaged. They get a weekly letter from me. We talk to everyone. But our board chair, our fiduciaries, and we have 36 members of that board now, are remarkable. And from the talent arena, it's B.B. Newirth, it's Annette Bening, it's Bob Wankel, the president of the Schubert Organization, the largest theater owner. It's David Steiner, who built Steiner Studios in Brooklyn. It's people like Steve Califer, who Steve made a movie in 2000 about our Actors Fund home in Englewood, New Jersey, and was nominated for an Academy Award. Steve served as our treasurer for 2 terms and was just absolutely terrific in helping us understand our finances and how to leverage our philanthropy with private support. Jonathan Tisch has consistently been a great supporter and someone who understands the intersection of tourism, restaurant, hotel work, and the arts, and has been a big proponent. And when I take a look at the people we're honoring, we had 2 big events planned in April, which we postponed. One was a reunion concert version of Ragtime, led by Audra McDonald and Brian Stokes Mitchell. We're doing that next year when we can all get together. But the gala in New York City, which is was an important gala in New York City and raised a lot of money for the Actors Fund. We're doing it on November 2nd. We're using some new technology, Anthony, which I'll have to share with you, so that people feel that they're in the first hour. You're hosting your table. Nancy and I bought a table. I'll be hosting my table, and there's going to be an open chair at every table so people can visit. So that Brian Stokes Mitchell, so that the Stephen Tisch celebrating the 25th anniversary of Forrest Gump, will be participating. The president of the AFL-CIO will be joining us as well, which is Dick Trumpka, and I think that's and we've got Brian Stokes Mitchell, who we're honoring. Stokes has been the exception to the rule. He is elected the chairman. The officers are elected once a year. We've elected him consistently. This will be his 16th year as the chairman of our board. So we don't make many exceptions, but we made an exception in the case of Brian Stokes Mitchell, and he has just been remarkable. But I have to say the business community, whether it's the Dave Marriott from Marriott or, it's the leadership at United Airlines, our partners, the political elected officials who have been so helpful. Every elected official, I have to say, that has been helpful in helping us understand, how we can leverage philanthropy with government services, which is really wonderful. Labor Commissioner Roberta Reardon in New York, Governor Cuomo has been incredibly helpful in New York. Governor Murphy, we admire terrifically. But I have to say that every elected official that we deal with seems to get the importance and understand the importance. Jimmy Cahill, who I went to high school with, who's the mayor of New Brunswick, since we were talking about New Brunswick, when I was honored, and of course, when I bought my table for the George C. Playhouse Gala, Governor Kane presented the award, which was a real honor. But I had my old baseball buddy, Jimmy, Cahill with me. And, I was talking to Jimmy for years about building affordable housing for the arts community. And he's one of those mayors. And I have such enormous respect for mayors because they're on the ground meeting basic, public needs. So that was great. It was a great table. It was great to connect with everyone in New Brunswick again, because most of my time has been spent in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, even though my home is just outside of Lambertville, New Jersey.
Beautiful place. Well, Joe, thank you for sharing all of that. But before we part ways, is there anything that you would like to leave with our audience, a call to action, a place you'd like them to go check out? I'll leave it up to you and in that final thought.
Well, our website is actorsfund.org. That's ACTOR, S as in Sam, F as in Frank, UND.org. The organization walks the walk of human services, meets the basic needs of people in the arts entertainment community and that industry. And we are partners with all business. especially in the restaurant and hotel businesses, and all the sports networks. When I think about, everyone we work with, the chair of our nominating committee is the president of the Stagehands Union. And when I talk to Matt every day, he talks about the impact of not having people at the Meadowlands, the impact of not having, work in all the music venues around the country. So having said that, the Actors Fund walks the walk of helping people with real need. And I encourage everyone to consider supporting it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Joe Benincasa, the Executive Director of the Actors Fund. Joe, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you for the opportunity, Anthony. It's been a real honor to be with you.
Have a good one. I'll see you, Joe.
You too. Bye-bye.
To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device. To help us get the word out, share with a friend, leave a review, and check out our discussions on the web at go-domain.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.